The summer is supposed to be quiet. What is happening here?
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Great to have you aboard. So listen, I've been telling you that this special election for Congress, District 1, to replace David Cicilline, was going to be a nightmare, even if things went smoothly. And now they're not running so smoothly. So the nightmare is only multiplied, so to speak. It's great to have you aboard. Thanks very much for tuning in. My good friend from Providence College, political scientist Joe Cammarano, is going to join me momentarily here to talk about the race and to discuss this other very little thing that's going on in the world. The former president of the United States is to be indicted again. It is amazing how the needle does not move on this. It is just, historians decades from now will be studying the social dynamic, the political dynamics, re Donald Trump for years to come. Joe and I have had so many conversations about what I hope is a political anomaly period in our history, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Anyway, here's the headline from this week. That's not my signature, says a local resident in Newport. I can give you the background on this, but I'll delegate to the good work of Target 12 and Tim White, who ran this story on Wednesday evening, I believe. We are taping on Thursday for your Friday and Sunday viewing.
15 people have qualified to make the ballot in the race to replace former Congressman David Cicilline. It takes 500 validated signatures to get there, and now police in 2 communities and the Attorney General's office are looking into how some of those names were gathered for the Matos campaign. On Wednesday, Target 12 combed the streets of Newport, knocking on doors. Her signature was forged. Okay. And calling people on the list of names that appeared on some nomination paperwork submitted by the Sabina Matos campaign for Congress. Is that your signature?
No, it is not my signature. Not my handwriting at all.
Among them, Perrin Ticer of Newport. How do you feel that you see your signature here that someone signed on, apparently on your behalf?
Not great. I mean, I have no idea who that person is.
The names were collected by paid Matos campaign worker Holly McLaren. No one came to the door of her Providence home when Target 12 paid a visit, and she did not return a call for comment. But we've learned she's no political newcomer, appearing in an ad supporting Dan McKee for governor that took a shot at his Republican opponent, Ashley Kalus.
Or is it Illinois? That's where she got a tax break on her house.
A spokesperson for Matos says McLaren no longer works for the campaign. At City Hall in Newport, election officials scrutinized the signatures on the Matos campaign nomination papers.
I find that all 3 of these signatures are questionable.
Ultimately voting unanimously to take action.
This will be referred to the police department.
Is this her signature right there? For Katisha Lopez.
No, unfortunately, no. That is a forged signature.
The police investigation was welcome news after we found her mother's name was, to their surprise, on the Matos paperwork.
It really sucks, and I wish it never happened, but I'm sure it's still happening right now.
Yeah.
And it's going to keep happening.
Yesterday, the Matos campaign sent me a statement that reads, in part, while it is clear we have submitted more than enough signatures to qualify for the ballot, I am deeply troubled by what has been reported in the news. With the Target 12 investigators, Tim White, 12 News.
Well, no kidding, deeply troubled. Good afternoon, my friend. Good to see you. I don't even know where to start.
Well,
do you know where to start?
Yeah.
Okay.
First thing is that one wonders why we have this requirement anyway.
Thank you for starting there, because I talked about this on the radio yesterday.
It's arcane, it's old-fashioned. It's supposed to express, some kind of widespread base support. That's not really necessary. The second thing is, this is a long tradition of having these signatures that are probably not all legit. I remember 30 years ago, a family member came to my house one night and said, I need you guys to sign certain things, and I wouldn't do it because I was in grad school and I felt that I had to keep my integrity. But my parents helped and my siblings helped. It's a pain to get people to sign, and one wonders why we do it. But once the rules are there, you're supposed to follow them, and this is not fair. And if it looks, you showed me these signatures, they look like they're made up to me.
Well, they,
and that's a violation of the rules. So getting off the ballot.
So the woman who is at the center of this, Ms. McLaren, who I do not know. We originally thought when we took a look at this that the first complaint came in Jamestown, and then a second complaint came in Newport, and those boards of elections, have both turned their queries to their local police departments. Now the Attorney General's office is involved in the case and is wrapping up the entire district, and it does turn out, to the best of our knowledge, my knowledge, and some of the work we did on the radio show on Wednesday afternoon, that she had a hand in a significant amount of signature gathering across the district. So she's not just working locally, and I believe she lives in Providence. So when Joe says he's taking a look, I didn't want to put this up, but this is what a signature page looks like. And I will tell you that the first column is just the name of the person, the second column is the address of the person, and the third column is the signature, which is the money column here. This is the one that will have legal weight. And as I look at them, and I'll show you, and I don't mean to keep you folks out of the loop here, but I just didn't want to publish and show addresses and have individuals tied up in this whole thing without my asking. But you see that Truman, that's the same writing, right? There's the same printing for these names here. The question is whether the signatures are actually individual for these folks, and I would assert, without having any expertise in handwriting, but having stayed at Holiday Inn Express last night, that these are feasibly very similar in style. I've tried to write my wife's signature for
I used to write my mother's all the time for my siblings.
And you know what, an expert could tell that you weren't getting it done. So the question will be, does the 700 plus signatures that she has actually acquired pass muster? What concerns me is that 4 of these signatures that I have serious questions about have already been approved. You see this?
Yep.
So these approved signatures that they're asserting may very well not hold up under investigation.
So that's the canvasser's approval.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just show you this again. You're not going to be able to see it that clearly, but if you could just pop up on that, there's a line right here. You see these little letters right here. There's codes, and they've been accepted. They're A's. They're accepted. So I don't know how that will turn out. I think it's irresponsible for me to conduct an investigation on this segment, but to your point, I think this is an archaic system.
Yeah.
I think it puts ridiculous pressure on
By the way,
candidates.
it was designed to prevent non-party endorsed people from getting on the ballot.
Non-party endorsed people
and
from
there's
getting
no
on the
party
ballot.
endorsement, which is part of the problem with this race, by the way.
Well, it's kind of funny, Joe, because I always thought in part it was also, look, this race is nutty enough. Say we've got 13 Democrats that have qualified. At one point, we thought we had 30. If people have no hoop to jump through at all in order to be on a ballot, I think we've got real problems. So some maybe high-techer type of hoop would be better than, I don't know.
I would argue that anybody could get to be on the ballot for a party, and then the party actually has to do its due diligence and decide which ones they endorse. You could set up a system where they endorse 3, 4, or 5. Those are the ones that go on ballot. You do it through party caucuses and local meetings. Or a district-wide
meaning you don't have to have a general population,
No.
hey, I want to run option.
It should be $0 to ask to run. The name gets transferred over to the party apparatus, and the party apparatus actually has to do their job rather than having a paid position.
Anyway,
do their job.
To your second point, though, it's the law, and everyone's got to comply, and they've got a compliance problem.
Yeah.
Why don't we take a break? And when we come back, we'll talk about whether this compliance problem, blemishes this race. And even if she survives this, meaning Sabina Matos, does she survive it? Stay with us. So this is where it began. Well, actually in Jamestown and then Newport, where this signature investigation now is ongoing. I don't know how fast. The Attorney General was on the radio on WPRI on Wednesday morning, kind of complaining that he doesn't have enough staff for all of the stuff for integrity investigations. Blah blah blah.
Back to the budget.
Yeah, back. Yeah. But you know, he's going to have to put this up front because time is of the essence. In that we have a September Tuesday after Labor Day primary, which I think is going to be the decision-making election in this campaign. The Republicans not. Yeah, we don't even know who. There's two Republicans. Nobody knows who they are. So, two questions. With the other 11 Democrats or 12 Democrats filing their complaints and making a big stir about this, whether Sabina Matos, our Lieutenant Governor, survives this inquiry or not, does she survive the primary?
Well, I don't want to pass judgment on whether she'd survive the inquiry because I don't know the legal ramifications, the responsibility on the part of the campaign, on the clerks. So I'll leave that to the Attorney General. Due diligence. I think it hurts her dramatically and significantly, but it's a 15-person race. If she keeps her base, she keeps her base and wins.
Yes, and that's the disgusting part about this entire election. I'm sorry, and you have much more of an open political scientific mind about these kinds of democratic competitions. But I'm sickened over the idea that that David Cicilline resigned when he did.
I'm with you on that, by the way.
B, delayed his actual resignation, which prevented a May and June primary general election, pushed this back to September and November, where people are, there will be a cap of 40,000 Democrats who will come out in this race. And truth be told, Sabina Matos is leading who's ever poll being done. She could win this thing with anywhere from 22 to 27% of the electorate. And so if she can hold her base, she can survive this perhaps. But that's no way to send somebody to Congress anyway. That's no mandate.
I agree.
Yeah, it's a mess, Joe. It really is.
Well, this is why I sort of harped on the role of the political party. I think the party made a strategic error by not trying to endorse anybody. It would have been hard. It would have made enemies. But I think it would have limited the number of candidates and limited the potential fallout of somebody who gets into legal trouble even though they're getting elected. Kind of like our president, or our former president, not our current one.
So anyway, I have an open door policy on the radio for these candidates to come in. We're not soliciting them here or on the television. If they want to come in, we'll acquiesce. We're not chasing these candidates, so FYI on all of that. We'll just see. The one thing I will say about Sabina Matos, and I've been clear, she's a mercenary. This notion that she wanted to serve the state as a lieutenant governor, and she was going to rearrange the decks on the Titanic, the deck on the chairs on the Titanic, and really change that. And all of a sudden, this little opportunity flies by her nose, and she jumps on it with no risk, like others are doing. I just find it to be the tasteful part of politics.
So here's where I surprise you a little. I think every single one of these qualifying candidates are potentially insane for wanting to do this. This is like a stupid time for a Democrat from Rhode Island to go down to D.C. They're not going to get anything done.
Which is in part why I think David decided the timing was right.
He's the only sane one, even though I have problems with the way it unfolded. I understand why he got sick of this, because nothing gets done. It's not about legislating, it's about performing. And so maybe one of these people has certain ego gratification needs, but they're insane to go down there. Right?
And by the way, they're going to be running again immediately.
Yeah.
Because next year, 24 is an election year. Right. And so there's no comfort. There's no comfort in winning a congressional seat with a 2-year term anyway.
Never mind $50 grand a week.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so there's this other guy that's got legal trouble, reportedly. That's the rumor. Stay with us. Yep, so it just goes on and on, my friends. Here's the latest from CBS.
We have prosecutors that are evil people. These are evil people.
Former President Trump lashed out at special counsel Jack Smith and posted a video rallying supporters to join him.
We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country.
With a potential criminal indictment looming, CBS News has learned the target letter Smith sent to Trump cites several possible charges, including conspiracy to defraud the U.S., deprivation of rights under color of law, which applies when someone uses power to deny constitutional rights, and witness tampering and obstruction of an official proceeding, the January 6th electoral count certification.
This goes to the top of the most serious charges that the former president will face. This is of a constitutional dimension. We've never seen anything like this in the history of our country.
The obstruction count was used against more than 300 defendants in the Capitol riot. The D.C. grand jury probing Trump's actions is still at work, and the special counsel recently contacted Arizona's former governor Doug Ducey, who Trump allegedly called in the aftermath of the election to pressure him to overturn the results. The former president's allies said he faces an uphill climb if charged in Washington.
I think Donald Trump can't get a fair trial in the District of Columbia. Why is that?
Well, he got 5% of the vote. You can indict a Republican for almost anything and get convicted in this city.
I don't think a jury can put the politics aside and say, here are the facts.
No.
Lindsey Graham is such a chameleon. Whatever. This will be at press time. Now, you're watching this on Friday and Sunday. It may be that he got indicted already this week because we're taping this on Thursday. I mean, it could happen tomorrow by timing, I think. He has a target letter. We know what's
probably
going on
not,
here.
but yeah, it could be.
He's not being indicted for stirring the riot,
right?
Which is, I think, smart on the prosecutor's part because I think there's just too much innuendo or circumstantial evidence to legitimize that. But these other charges, which the general public is kind of like, what does that mean, are in the court system wholly more pliable, aren't they?
Yeah, I think these are very serious charges. They prosecutors go for low-hanging fruit. They don't like losing. They're not going to pick the hardest charge. They're going to pick the one that they have the most evidence for and can get it. And I think that's what they've done. This is really serious. Out of all of these, I think the statement earlier is correct that this is among the most profoundly serious charges you can imagine a former president dealing with.
Well, it seems to be loading up. So New York starts, and it's about paying off a woman and
then using business to hide the money.
Okay, and that one, everyone says, okay,
yeah,
serious.
I agree. I don't think that's serious.
But well,
it's serious.
At the time, it was serious and unprecedented. And then we have the Mar-a-Lago indictment on the classified documents, which I think has a level of seriousness to it that can be argued. And
I would argue actually that for national security purposes, that is more serious than the third group.
Than this
yeah,
one
because
to come.
of his sharing of documents like how we were going to bomb Iran and go to war with them, with people who weren't in government and had no security clearance.
And then we're going to get a fourth one likely in Georgia. So, on his pressuring the system there to find the votes that was necessary. So he could be juggling 4 indictments. I mean, is that... I'm not so concerned about the national election yet. Is that survivable even in this Republican environment?
I think Trump's lifelong strategy with the law has been delay, delay, delay until people give up and go away, or you can settle for a manageable amount. That's not going to work on this one, but he's hoping it will, so that if he gets elected president, he can then make the claim, well, they weaponize the judiciary, so there's no such thing as the rule of law anymore.
Do you think the electorate, Joe, if he gets through a Republican primary, you think the general electorate, with the pressure of all of this on it, would elect him?
No, I don't, but I don't make predictions. And
you and I went down that road a long time ago.
And number 2, it's really not a choice about Trump or Biden. It's a choice about whether the United States is going to remain a liberal representative democracy or whether it's going to become an illiberal semi-democracy run by an authoritarian elected
Meaning
ruler.
an autocracy?
Yeah. No.
Do you think that...
And if Americans want an autocracy, they should vote for Trump. If they want democracy, they should vote for Biden. And that's Americans to
Are you
decide.
worried about Joe Biden playing a little bit of Russian roulette with this election?
No, I don't, no.
No. The age thing?
No. Well, I
The
mean,
Hunter Biden
I wish
thing?
someone else would run, but you know, I don't want an 80-year-old running. But you got to remember that 80-year-olds have a lot of wisdom. Joe Biden has more wisdom, experience, failure, which is an important element of success in the future. And he only does the steering. He doesn't do the rowing. The people who are rowing are really good and really capable and younger.
If Trump is able to, I don't think he can string the Mar-a-Lago case out. I think the judge, even though there's some worry about the judge, I think the judge has already signaled that she'll do this case in 24.
I think the judge is trying to be a real judge, and that she's trying to balance her interest as a Republican and an ideologue with the idea that she's a judge and there's a rule of law. And I think she's doing a good job right now. I agree with
It's
much of what
amazing
she's
that these
decided.
Republicans can't get critical. These other candidates, DeSantis just feels like he's in a box. You know, they all just play this hedge game. McCarthy, the speaker, the whole bit.
You know, I think part of the problem is they're all looking over their shoulder at Trump, or they're all looking over Trump's shoulder from behind. They got to be who they are. And I think DeSantis, a lot of people thought he was a good option. I think Youngkin's is better. DeSantis is Trump without the fun.
Does Youngkin's get any traction?
I think he doesn't need traction. All he needs is the appearance of normality, which he is.
Do the Republican constituents want an appearance of normality?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, not the Trumpsters, but I would argue that enough Republicans do.
All right. Appreciate it. We'll be in touch. It's supposed to be a quiet summer.
Tell me about it.
Final word when we come back, Steve. You know, we lost a great one last week while I was on vacation, and I mean a great one. A friend to, I think, the entire community. And when it comes to signatures on a community, do you know anybody that had a bigger signature than Bill Reynolds? Not just the For What It's Worth column that I write about in my Valley Breeze column this week, and I ask you to take a look as I reflect on Bill, but his books, his reporting, his journalism. He was a king in his business and a great guy, and we sorely missed him.